Hey guys, how's it going? Matt here from Flight Club. Super excited to talk with you guys today about aerobatics. We're going to be having Mike join us, and Mike's super knowledgeable. Mike, thanks for joining. I know you're going to connect with me in just 1 second. We've got Thomas, uh, Market, Marquis. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly.
Hey,
Hey, how's it going?
hey, Matt, how's it going?
Good, good. I was wondering if you were going to join with your signature bandana today or not, but
I do have it here. I do have it in my headset bag.
awesome. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us today to talk about aerobatics.
Thanks for having me on. This is super cool to do. I'm really impressed with what you guys are doing with the Flight Club program. I think you guys are like about to catch a really cool wave, and like making life easier for a whole pile of people, like especially owners, can utilize their airplane like much more effectively. And I think your guys mission is super cool. So it's a blast to be able to join in here.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the whole goal is just to get people flying more often. And I know you're probably the same as me when you go into all these airports and just see those airplanes sitting on the ground, like, oh my God, like there's so many people that want to be flying this. Why is this waiting here to be flown?
Right.
Um, so yeah, that's exactly why we
Yeah.
why we started.
Cool.
Um, Tell me a little
It's
bit
like,
about yourself. How did you get started in aviation?
yeah. So I started doing my training in 2003.
Oh,
So I finished high school. I finished high school in Florida, and then went back to Ontario, um, and was just kind of transitioning between like high school and going to university. Didn't I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but um, it was a case of like just like taking a year and finding yourself and all that kind of stuff. So I worked for years as a CAD technician with a technology company, and just like drew CAD up drawings. And then the airport was kind of on the way home, so I used to stop by at least 3 times a week and just kind of crush through a private license, and then build some time, and then commercial license. So all that happened in like um, yeah, 2003, 2004, and then subsequently kind of got into aerobatics after that. But it's
you
something.
did
It's something.
you did your
Sorry,
training Spectrum, right?
a Spectrum. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I did my private license at Spectrum. Built a whole pile of time with those airplanes there. Then went out to Pro IFR in Vancouver, BC. Did my IFR or multi IFR out there, and then back to Spectrum to do the commercial.
So cool. Why did you go out to BC?
Just because Pro IFR, Pro IFR, they like they're really good at what they do. When like because I was working like full time, I think I had like 2 weeks off or something. Maybe it was 2.5 weeks off. So Pro just does, well, not just like they do all the licenses and stuff like that, but they have like a focused program on the multi IFR side. So I knew that I could go there and just focus on it and just fly. And like they had a ton of airplanes, so if one airplane breaks, they got four others, and so they had the capability and all that. And then I got there, and I forget who I was talking to. It was the CFI at the time, and I was like, all right, I got like 12 days or whatever, 13 days. I got to do a multi IFR, and they're like, not going to happen. I was like, well, can I just schedule myself for like 2 sims in a flight every day, and we'll just see how it goes? And they're like, you're going to burn yourself up. I was like, okay, let's do it. And they went along they went along with that crazy plan, and it worked. It was like 12 or 13 days, and came out with a Group 1 IFR, and then back to Spectrum to kind of finish stuff off. So
That's
um,
awesome.
yeah,
That's the
it's
best.
been
My flying was sort of like that too with the cadet program.
yeah,
So it's just like 6.5 weeks, 7 weeks of only flying, only aviation. You just crush it and get it done. So
totally.
Yeah, I know it's pretty unheard of outside of the Air Cadet program, but I finished my PPL with like 55 hours.
Yeah,
So
nice.
just over the minimum, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I think the cadet program, like the cadet program, is such a unique opportunity and such a cool opportunity for like the kids in the cadet program to have, and it's just about like 9 out of 10 folks that I know who came through cadets are still in flying, and it's super cool.
Yeah. We had a question in here for you.
Yeah.
What school would you recommend in Ontario to get your private license?
Oh, I would say in general, what I've kind of, I guess, trended towards, and I think like as we go through the questions, like some of the stories will kind of come out, um, but or like as the conversation goes here. But I would try and find a school that um, is at an airport that's not very busy. Um, it's got more than like 3 or 4 airplanes, and it's got a couple like senior instructors, like retired folks who are now instructing. So if you can find that, I would suggest that that's a good place to start. And the reason is like you're not going to spend a lot of time idling on the ground waiting for the traffic pattern to clear. Like, yeah, like Spectrum was super cool because it was a 40-foot wide runway. It may have been 35 at the time. It's like the wingtips of the 152 hung off the sides of this runway. It was like a sidewalk. And so you got so good at crosswinds, you got so good at all this weird stuff like early on. So that was super cool. You never waited for traffic, just like up on and blasting off.
Yeah.
And then they had a lot of super experienced folks. So if you can find that, that's like that's a good start. With folks that have a lot of experience, like you know to be straightforward, you get a couple like crusty old guys in there, you're going to learn a ton. You may not understand it all at the time, but you're going to learn a ton.
Yeah, so true. And also, like depending on the school, I find that some of them are very like focused on building hours for their instructors as opposed to actually helping the student fly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I think that's a really good advice.
Yeah, and I just see another question come up. The same thing, like competition aerobatics and air racing. For initial training, it's like um, it's like same kind of thing. Doing the commercial, it's like at that point, like you just have to start and just keep on trucking, like just one foot ahead of the other. Just like find need airplanes, find the right training, find the right schools, and as you go, that experience like will accelerate the whole process. And that's something like no one really tells you in the beginning.
So how did you get started in aerobatics? Like what made you think about going into aerobatics, and when did you even get started?
Yeah, so I started. The initial inspiration was kind of partly aviation is kind of in my family to a certain extent. So like my dad had like pictures of like it was this pit special that he used to fly. It's based in Texas. So he used to have like those pictures around the house, and like it was always cool. And the thought or the we talk about is like how hard the pits is to land. It's like the pits is like the hardest airplane ever to land, and that's true. Like it is. um, and so like part of it is like there's a little bit of inspiration there, and then the other part is like my own personality. I it's almost like that mantra of like anything worth doing is worth doing to excess. It's like if you're gonna do something, it's like, well, you might as well like figure out where the edge is and you know like push and find out. It's like can't what's the most you can learn? Like how far can you take the wing? Like how far can you take the airplane? You don't want to exceed the limit, like, but you want to like be able to operate there and comfortably, and that's it. So that's kind of like that was the inspiration. So in when was it? Okay, yeah, 2003 I started flying. 2004 I went to Pro IFR. When I was out at Pro, I got checked out on their Citabria there because I knew that like the pits was tailwheel, and so you should have a little bit of tailwheel time before flying the pits. So that was a focus, get that Satabria time. So I did that. And then when I got back, it was the spring of 2004. It was still pretty cold out. It was like March or something. And I called up Jerry Younger. Like I had to go and like find his phone number. Like no idea how to get a hold of the guy, but everybody's just like, oh, if you want to fly aerobatics, you have to find Jerry. So I had to go and like figure out how to get a hold of Jerry. And Jerry Younger, like he's a past Canadian national champion, like multi-time national champion. He flew for the Canadian team back in the 80s, traveled all over the world doing competition and that kind of thing. So finally got his phone number, and then called him up. I think it took like 3 phone calls to talk him into actually flying with me. But like he finally said, okay, like come out to the field. We'll do a flight. So I eventually like convinced him into training me to land the pits. And I think that took like a half dozen flights or so, maybe a little bit more. It's like going from the Satabria to the pits is just like starting tail wheel over again. It's crazy. Like it's doable. It's all doable and workable. It's just like, it's a big performance jump. So I just did that.
A Ferrari.
Yeah, right. It's like, it's like you'll learn stick on a Civic, and then you're like, oh yeah, I can go drive a Porsche or a Ferrari. And like, you're like, yeah, no, just drive the Porsche. It's like, it'll be just as hard. Yeah. So did the pit stuff with Jerry, and then I went down south to Harvey and Rin Aviation, and actually flew the same pits that my dad used to fly, and did a spin course on that. And then, once you got the pits in the spin course, now you kind of got what you need to keep yourself safe in kind of any aerobatic-ish kind of airplane. And that's really where the foundation starts. So that's where it all started.
Awesome. So how would you recommend that like someone gets started? There were a couple of questions earlier where someone's like, I'm doing my CPL. At like what point should I jump into starting some aerobatics training, or where do I even start from like a ground level?
For sure, yeah. So for aerobatics, like aerobatics really can tie in just about anywhere. It's like I'd make sure you do your private pilot's license first. Like you don't want to get into, like, there's a time and a place for everything, and like doing aerobatics before you have your private license isn't really effective or efficient. But once you get your private license, it's good training from that point on. Same thing with the commercial. Like if you got 150 hours and like all you're doing is burning gas and building time, it's like, well, spend some money and go fly an aerobatic airplane for 3-5 hours, and you're going to get a lot out of it. That's going to carry forward with you. When you're looking for a school, I would look for a school that has a super decathlon is ideal. But if it has like a super decathlon and a pits, that's pretty much the ideal. And what I recommend for folks getting started is find a pits, do a spin course in it. It's about 3.5 hours of flying. A pits these days, I think, runs about $500 or $600 an hour, is just a guess. So like, make sure you're ready for it and just go for like 3 days straight. The spin course teaches you how to get in and out of any attitude safely. And that's what you learn there. And then kind of go back to the decathlon and do 4 or 6 hours on the decathlon, just like figuring out where to put the stick to make the nose go where you want it to go. And then between those two, it's like that's a really good foundation. And then you got to find an airplane somehow or another. And Flight Club would be like a perfect thing to leverage on, like, or to capitalize on something like that. Is like, you have somebody with a decathlon or a Super D or something like that.
Yeah.
And like it just really facilitates, like, without having to go through like a multi-person incorporation to form a club around an airplane and all the rest. You just have access to something like that, and like that's phenomenal.
that's the goal. Where right now we have a lot of different aircraft on there, primarily like 172s and Cherokees, but I don't know if you've seen the 340 on there, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever people are willing to list, we're willing to make sure people can fly them safely.
For sure, for sure. And I'm super pumped to see how you guys grow it, because like there'll be that, like it'll be a whole new mentality among the pilot group. It's like, oh well, like you have a baseline of training, or you have a baseline pilot that participates in the program, and it's like the owner, works with them and trains them, and then they fly the air, and like life is good. Like
yeah,
it should work.
Should be that easy.
Yeah.
So what were your biggest challenges during your aerobatic training, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so when it comes to like specific challenges, the biggest, I guess, consistent challenges are like the time to do the aerobatics, and like the time to dedicate to it, because like it does take a bit of dedication. It's like you there's a certain amount of risk associated with like being like a Sunday looper. It's like you need to know how to get yourself out of trouble if you find it. So you want to have a certain amount of dedication to aerobatic training and flying. And so to do that, it's like you have to kind of be able to burn the gas too. So you have to structure the rest of life so that you can facilitate that. So that's probably like one of the biggest challenges. And like everybody wanting to get into it is going to run into the similar kind of thing. It's like you could fly a twin and get a multi-rating and get a job, or you can fly a Pitts and have some fun and not the same amount of money. So that's one of the inherent challenges to it. But you also have like the downstream benefits of like number one, being a pilot who can deal with anywhere, like anything the wing can do, or the wing can do, you can deal with it. It's like if it's a 0 degrees angle of attack, you know what that means, you know what that feels like, you know how to manage it. If it is 20 degrees stall, it's like you also know how to manage it, you also know how to fix that. So it's not wasted training, it's not wasted time, it's just different. So you just have to be dedicated to that. When it comes to challenging parts, one of the things I found challenging is probably going to be kind of interesting to some of the folks tuned in here. But like getting into kind of like getting into the air show side of things, like that's a big challenge in itself. Like anything, you just one foot in front of the other, and you keep pushing. It's like, when a lot of folks first try aerobatics, like they don't feel well. Like it's not like it looks like a whole lot more fun from the outside than it feels like from the inside. But 3 flights later, you've gotten used to that, and then you can kind of continue on with the progress of where you want to go.
Awesome. Yeah, I did one aerobatic flight in Burlington.
Yeah,
how'd it go?
It was the most fun that I've ever had, but I think it was only a 0.6, and I was exhausted by the end of the flight. But it's absolutely amazing experience. I definitely want to do more of it, but I just need to organize my time exactly like you said, so that I'm doing it consistently and just able to go out there and continue like practicing it and learning it in a consistent way.
Yeah. Was that in their extra?
Yeah.
How did you like that? Like how is that experience just as like an airplane?
Absolutely amazing. Like I've primarily flown gliders and then 172s and like Piper Cherokee, J3 Cub. So all like low performance aircraft, and then going into that where it's just like, oh my God, this is what I need in my life.
Yeah. It's like it's got 300 horsepower and just like straight up.
Yeah. Oh God, it was amazing. I can't wait to go back. At what point do you transition from, I guess, like practicing aerobatics to competing in aerobatics? And does the cost of aerobatics ever get to a point where it's kind of like self-sustaining itself?
No. Yeah. When it comes to transitioning from like aerobatics as like as an enthusiast to aerobatics as like as a as a in a competitive vein, it's, I want to say like you kind of you kind of feel it become possible after you've done about 10 hours of like aerobatic flying, like 3 to 5 hours of like, well, 3 hours of spin training, 3 or 5 hours of like flying a super decathlon, and then everything begins to click to a point where you're like, oh yeah, I can like definitely do a 1.5 turn spin, and it's not going to be like a 4 turn spin. Like I'll know where it stops. And then you're like, okay, well now I can do this. And then you get into the competition world, and it's like, well, what I found is one of the coolest aspects of it is like the volume of learning that you get used to. Like number one is super cool because like, you just you go from new thing to new thing to new thing to new thing. And then like you look back after 3 years and you're like, holy cow, like that was crazy. And then like you can extrapolate those skills like forward too. Like it's just like running, like a new company with a new concept the way that you guys are doing. It's like at first it's this like huge insurmountable thing. And then like you start, putting one foot in front of the other, and you're like, oh, no, this is gonna work. And then it's like, holy cow, this is like really gonna work. Yeah. But yeah, and the competition is, you start like you start in sportsman, and like we've got Aerobatics Canada, got the IAC, and to a certain extent, it's like one of the toughest parts about competition is just like showing up. Like you just got to get to the airport, like preferably with an airplane. But even if you don't have an airplane, like you show up to enough contests that somebody's going to put you in an airplane. But that's the biggest thing. It's like lots of times the biggest challenge is just getting there for whatever reason. But it's a great time. The folks at contests are really supportive about flying and ensuring just everybody kind of comes out, has a good time. The contest is of course it has to run, but it's all volunteer based. It's like just a bunch of pilots coming out to have fun, fly airplanes, burn gas, pull sorry, pardon me, pull G's.
Awesome. Yeah, my favorite saying that I've heard from pilots is, today we're turning dinosaurs into noise.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you find managing your time? Like I know you've always been doing multiple things. Like when you were doing your PPL and your CPL, you were in school and doing your undergraduate, and then flying bush planes in Red Lake. How do you manage your time and prepping for competition flying?
Yeah, it's a sometimes like in hindsight I kind of wonder, it's like, how did that even actually work? But it's just like everything is a conscious effort. Everything is like, it's built to like make that time, and that's been, I want to say that's been like the continual challenge. Is just structuring like the rest of life to ensure that the time will be available for the air shows. And it's like, it's you sacrifice a lot of other stuff, and it's just a case of like what do you want to do? So for me, it's like this like competition flying for me is something I really enjoy. I've come to really appreciate all the other things that I didn't expect I would learn along the way. So in hindsight, I think like, well, sometimes it may have been better to buy a boat, but but like having done everything and like just gotten to this point, it's been an absolute blast and a half. And like even the experiences like 5 years ago, like you check it on the pits, and then because of the pits, a conversation happens, and then you're out here towing gliders at SOSA, and then you're towing gliders at SOSA, and this other thing happens, and now you're over here flying Harvards, and then this, and it's like just the like just the adventure has been cool. So so it's been neat to do it. It almost I mean, it's felt like work sometimes, but it's all been a worthwhile effort. And then at work, it's like flying for an airline or flying for different airlines over the years. It's been a case of like sometimes you have to go above and beyond at work, which also is like it helps in your learning and it helps you in your experience. It's like I was never an instructor on kind of the private license side or like class 4, class 3, that kind of thing. Never worked as an instructor in flight schools, but then on the airline side got into training. And then on the training side, just the way that aspect was managed, it's like, okay, now I could like, here and there wrangle like a weekend off for a contest. And there were some years where it just didn't work. Just had some years that were just really light on the flying. So, just keep on pushing, just keep your focus kind of locked on where you want to go.
Awesome. Now you have your own airplane. When did you get that?
So my dad and I, we went joint on our first airplane in 2006. It was a Pit Special S2A, and for about 2 years we shopped for, it was Luscombes first, and then it was like J3 Cubs, and then it was a Cessna 170, and like I'd be on Barnstormers like every day. It's like this one's in Massachusetts, this one's in Florida, that one's over here, this one's over there. I got this Luscombe over here. Oh, this one's in Alberta. Oh, Luscombe in BC, and I went back and forth and back and forth. And then like as like you kind of like feed the idea, it turns into a case of like, well, what about a single hull Pitts? A single hull Pitts is the same as a 170 in terms of like operating costs. Why don't we just get a single hull Pitts? And then as one thing led to another, the Pitts S2A popped up on Barnstormers, and I think it was there for like 4 hours. It just showed up. It was there. We're like, yep, that's it. Then like we've been looking for airplanes for like the 2 years prior. So
yeah,
you realize how to like look at an ad and just be like, oh, like 40 things about the airplane before you've even seen it, just because you've been looking at that stuff for so long. So so we got into the Pitts as a partnership in 06. And then just over the years flew intermediate with that, and then got to the kind of performance edge of where like my performance and the Pitts performance were like converging. So it's like, all right, well, you gotta get an airplane that's got a little more performance than a Pitts S2A, and that's where the Giles came in. It's a super high value airplane where you still have the 4-cylinder engine in it, but it rolls really fast, so that makes up for some of the lack of power. Although we got the new Aerosport engine in it, the IO 375. Aerosport helped out huge with that one, and I'm super pumped with that. It's a ton of power.
Do you already have that in, or that's going in soon?
No, it's in there. I've flown about 15 hours on the engine so far. So yeah, upgraded from a IO 360 to an IO 375. So 15 more cubic inches, I guess it is. And it's about, I think it's about 10% more horsepower. So it shows up about 20% more performance in the climb and about 5% more performance in cruise. So, and it's got, I see, sorry, pardon me, Flissa's on, and it's got hooker harness belts in it, and they are perfect. Yeah.
Those belts, the hooker harness belts are awesome. Like they hold you in there.
Yeah. If you don't have a ratchet on both sides, you're going to be flying back and forth.
Now, how do you get your plane to places when you compete? I know this past year has kind of been a disaster for any sort of competitions, but when you are competing, most of them are in the States. What do you do? How do you get there?
So either I'll fly it down or my dad will fly it down. He's into flying. He really enjoys taking it. Places. In 2019, he flew it from Toronto out to Abbotsford and back for me. I flew the Abbotsford Air Show there, which was like, it was an absolute blast, like total dream come true to like fly Abbotsford. And that was like an air show that I had a VHS tape of. I think it was the 1986 Abbotsford show, and like I wore that tape out when I was like 5 years old or something. And then getting to fly the show is like super cool. But yeah, so he'll help out a ton, just taking the airplane from A to B. And then I've got a couple other, good friends that I've checked out on the airplane. So I've got 4 or 5 people kind of like trained on the airplane right now. So if I can't take the airplane someplace due to scheduling or anything like that, it's like I've got somebody who can jump in and like get the airplane, whether it's like Oshkosh.
Yeah.
1 year, Baggett-ville was another year. Airplane's going to be going down to Florida, coming up here soon. So
Awesome.
So that's been a big help. And again, it's been sort of like a conscious effort. As the years are progressing, it's like eventually this will be a thing. It's like, yeah. So I gotta like you can't do anything without a good team. So it's like it's just making sure you got like awesome folks on board who enjoy doing this kind of stuff and enjoy doing the kind of flying and like enjoy the fun.
Now, when I flew the extra, like it's an awesome plane to fly, but I don't know that I'd want to do like long cross countries in an airplane that is so like you just need to be tuned in all the time.
Yeah. The Giles is actually not that bad. Being a 4-cylinder engine, mm-hmm. I want to say it's not as loud, but it's probably pretty close. Like it is a little fatiguing, like just based on like the audio bombardment that you have like for 4 hours straight. And in the wing tanks alone, the Giles has about 4 hours of range, or 4 hours of endurance rather. So
when you're flying in cross country, you do like 4-hour jumps, or?
Yeah. Most times, like you get tired between 3 and 4 hours, like you're ready for a timeout. So yeah, it'll be about 500-mile legs, which is about 3 to 4 hours, just depending on kind of like what the wind's doing, if you have to go around any weather, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So that's generally like what I'll plan for. But it also like it flies almost hands off, so it's actually pretty pleasant to take from A to B. At Mikislero, he just like he did the kind of final assembly once the new engine came in, and like we did the tail mod on it, and he worked his magic on it, and like it flies hands off. Like I can just get the pitch trimmed and like let go, and it's just like straight as an arrow. Yeah, so it's super cool. So like you can you can just kind of let the thing go for a second, and it's not gonna head for the weeds on you. So.
You talked about having a team behind you. What does your team look like of people that are supporting you?
So the crew, the kind of the immediate crew is myself, Matt Costello, Adam McCabe, Mikislero, and we've been kind of like we've been pushing on kind of the airshow competition adventure over the past. It's been about the last 5 years or so. Adam came in. He was working up north. He was in Sioux Lookout. He came down to Southern Ontario. It's about 2015 or 2016, I think now, and then started working on the Giles. And Matt, I've been working with Matt for a long time, and he's been interested in aerobatics and that kind of thing. So we kind of like everybody just had common goals, and we're like, well, let's give this thing a try and see how it goes. And like it's been an absolute blast. So like we've been progressing that way, and that's kind of like been kind of the smaller crew with doing shows and kind of getting the airplane competitions, that kind of stuff. And then when it comes to like the expanded network, it's like the folks at Aerobatics Canada Chapter 3. Like I think I see Andy's on here. Like Andy and I have been flying competition together since 2009 or 10 or something like that. It's been a while now. And like we'll go places and like we'll train together. And on the competition side, especially, that's like really important because you need to have eyes on the ground and you need to have a little bit of like have a picture of like what the airplane should be doing. So we do that kind of stuff. Both of our both Andy and I's dads, like they've been in the competition world. I think Andy's dad, pardon me, Larry, he won the other year the Sportsman National Champion Canada and Sportsman National Champion in the States in the same year. So I think that made him the North American champion. But just having that crew, and then I mean, I've been really lucky to work with a whole pile of exceptionally accomplished and exceptionally talented folks, especially on the airshow side. Pete McLeod. Like over the years, Pete and I have been friends. I think I saw Nate's on here. The crew up in Red Lake. It's like over the years, you know, like you make friends and like kind of everybody's like paddling the canoe the same direction. And you know, I worked with Sergey, Boryak in the States. He's been a big help on the competition side. So that's it's kind of, you know, a couple folks in the expanded network of like how to get from A to B. And again, for like all folks watching, it's like as you go, it's like you just meet the right people and just one thing leads to another, and then it just snowballs bigger and bigger.
I think that's the one amazing thing in the aviation industry, or like in general aviation as a whole. You know, at some point you're always going to need another pilot's help. I can't count the number of times that I've been stranded somewhere and some pilot has come out and just been like, "Hey, like, what do you need? How can I help?" And like, I guess we all just know, like, we all need each other and we can all learn something from each other, no matter like if it's someone's first day at the airfield or if it's someone with thousands of hours. Like, there's always something that we can learn, and there's always, I guess it's just that sense of community where you just know, like, as a pilot, you just have that inherent connection.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. It's like over the years, like we all run into that period where it's easy to lose track of, but like the world is small. It's like everybody, you know, is 1 degree away from or is 2 degrees away from like everybody else. So it's like it's a small community. It's like everybody, like everybody's out just to, you know, do some flying and have some fun.
Yeah, and that's what we found so much with Flight Club. Like I originally started Flight Club because I needed to I wanted to share my plane with my friends, and I ended up getting three of my friends using my airplane, saving me costs, and my insurance allowed me to add up to 10. So I was like, well, I don't necessarily know 10 people that want to fly, but I'm sure they're out there. And I posted it on Kijiji. And nice. Within like 2 days, there were 70 replies. I'm just like, oh my goodness, like so many people want to fly. No one can. Let's build this. But it just goes to show, like, the community's there, and we just need barbecues and events like the competitions to go to and connect. You had talked about like the Canadian Aerobatics Association. I forget what you had called them. I know they were watching us for a while, but they're hosting an event shortly. I think April 11th.
So Aerobatics Canada Chapter 3. That's the Ontario chapter. We're having our AGM. I think it is. It's April 11th. We're having the AGM April 11th. You have to check on the profile or check on the site.
I'll pin them after this, because I know they were advertising that, like, they're going to talk about how to get into aerobatics, where you can volunteer, and just how to get involved in that community. And I signed up, but I think a lot of people that are watching this definitely would be interested in doing the same.
Perfect. Yeah. So the AGM will be the 11th. And again, like everybody can just show up, stop by. Some of it won't be super enthralling, but like there'll be a question and answer period, and it'll be the place to start. I think we're gonna have a contest this year. Pretty confident we're gonna have a contest. That'll be in the fall. That'll be not the fall. It'll be at the end of the summer, like sometime in August. And just like getting involved, just getting out there is kind of the biggest thing. So Aerobatics Canada is the Ontario chapter. Well, it's the Canadian organization. Chapter 3 is the Ontario chapter. But yeah, that's like a good place to start, and that's where all the aerobatic folks in Ontario are hanging out.
Awesome. Hopefully that's me soon. I'll start hanging out there on the 11th, and then we'll see how it goes from there.
That's perfect.
What headset do you use? I saw that you're not using the typical Bose headset. What made you choose the one you're using, and why do you use it?
Yeah, right on. Yeah, so I've got a Clarity Aloft. I've got the Bluetooth one that has the Bluetooth kind of box in it, or the connector, the Bluetooth adapter. I started using the Clarity pretty much back when we got the pits, like back in like, I think I've had them for at least 10 years. The Clarity is nice because it's light. It's like, you've got your David Clarks, you got your Bose, like all those are fantastic headsets. But I just didn't want to like wear a cloth helmet. Like I'm 6'3", and I'm just like a little on the tall side for comfortably wearing a helmet. And when I look at it, it's like I'll wear a helmet for doing air shows. Wear a helmet for like any like photo missions or anything like that. But for just normal day-to-day flying, it's like in kind of the risk assessment that I'm looking at, it's like, it's like 50-50 one way or the other, just for like normal competition flying. Yeah. And so the Clarity works out really well because I don't need to wear a cloth helmet, because with a cloth helmet you tie the headset to yourself, like it's tied with a chin strap. So it's like if you have to get out, it's like, well, don't forget to unplug your headset. It's like, am I going to remember to unplug my headset if I got to leave in a hurry? Like, probably not. So the Clarity, it actually has an inline plug that you plug in the Bluetooth box with. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is like super handy. Like I don't have to remember to unplug myself. It'll just quick disconnect for me. And it's got Bluetooth, and I can tune into my phone for like the cross country stuff and that. And then it's light, so if I don't have my bandana on, or if I don't have a headset on, it's like I can still roll upside down and push, and the headset's not going to go flying and skittering to the front of the canopy and marking up the canopy and all that kind of stuff.
For sure.
So,
we'll send off the Clarity after and see if we can get them to sponsor you.
Yeah, cool. Those guys are great. I chatted with them at Oshkosh in 2019, and it's like they support their product. It's super cool. It's just like it's a nice product to use.
Awesome. What's next on your aerobatic journey with everything that you're doing?
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Yeah. So right now, the next kind of goalpost that I'm that I'm coming up on is the surface level waiver for shows. So I'm going to be going down to Florida just to finish that one up in the next little bit here. So working with Patty Wagstaff there. And I did a little bit of flying with her a couple of years ago, just as like professional development. It's like, you've always got to be like thinking about like, what are you missing? Like, could you be missing anything in like your view of the world, whether it be aerobatics or flying or IFR flying or what? And like Patty's got like she's forgotten more about aerobatics than a lot of folks know. So went down and worked with her a couple years ago, and had a really great time. So gonna go back and do a little bit more work with her, and that should get me to the surface. And that's kind of a key point on the airshow side. It's like it takes a lot of work to get there. So I'm really pumped that. And then
For someone that doesn't know what a surface level waiver is, like what is that, or like what does that qualify you to do?
yeah, so with air shows, it's like, everybody rolls up to an air show and it's like all these people flying 3 feet off the ground, and you're like, holy cow, like how do you do that? Well, you just be a cool person with a Statiker 600, and that's what you have to do. It's like, no, there's like essentially a licensing structure. So it's like you start at 800 feet or 500 feet, kind of depending on what your experience is. And so you start there, and then you work from 500 feet to 250 feet, and then 250 feet to the surface. So you have a graduated procedure. And in the time it takes you to get through the procedure, you learn everything you need to know, or at least most things that you need to know to kind of stay safe and like stay on top of the game. And like the biggest thing is just safety. It's like, there's lots of unfortunate stories about people flying close to the ground a little too soon, and you want to make sure, like, even to protect the bigger, like the industry as a whole, it's like you want to be careful, and you want to take things methodically.
For
So,
sure.
but yeah, so it goes like I started at 500 and then went 250, and now going down to the surface, and just part of the journey. And then on the competition side, looking forward to hopefully being part of the Advanced World Aerobatic competitions when they're in Vegas in 2023. It's going to be a pretty cool time.
With all the aerobatics you're doing, it's pretty taxing on your body. What do you do to keep yourself in shape? Like, I know mental aspect's a huge part of it, but physically, definitely. What's your day-to-day fitness regimen?
Yeah, thinking about how I should be doing more. Yeah, it's generally when I'm like in training mode, I'll do a little bit of weight training and a little bit of running. Just keep the cardio up. Like the cardio is what I found to be the most critical. And it's like, if you have a healthy heart, healthy circulation system, you can work with all the challenges that you're going to get. And then you got to just have enough strength and speed, kind of like in your muscles and in your reaction time, that you can put the controls where they need to go. And like sometimes the deflection cycle times are like really fast. Like for a snap roll, you'll go from like center stick, you'll hit the stop, like you'll hit the full up elevator stop, and you'll be almost at the forward elevator stop in probably 2/3 of a second. And like there's a certain amount of load associated with that too. So you've got to be able to kind of run that cycle pretty fast, and so it takes a little bit of weight training. And it's like, as you start, you don't have that muscle memory or that muscle ability. And, as 5 years goes by, it's like you develop that, and you're like, oh, holy cow, like I can do that really fast now.
Yeah, it's like second nature for you, and then you put someone like me in the plane. It's like, I have no idea what just happened, but it was cool.
Yeah, the world moved really fast.
Do you have any last bit of advice to someone that's looking to start off in aerobatics before we end here? Or if anyone has questions, please shout them out.
Totally, yeah. Biggest piece of advice that I would have is say that don't take no for an answer. There's many cases, like many times, like you run into challenges where it's like, can't do that because there's no airplane. Can't do that because there's no instructor. Can't do that because there's no this. Can't do that because there's no that. It's like those are always pretty common. It's Flight Club exists because it's solving that exact problem in a slightly different channel. But like, there was a problem, nobody had a solution, so there you go. You just make it. You just make it work. So that's what I would say. It's like there's book learning you'll do, there's aircraft learning you'll do, there's a lot of gas that you'll burn. But the biggest thing is just to keep that mentality of like you'll figure out where you need to go and who you need to meet, and just like keep on trucking. It's it's as much of an exercise in like dedication and patience as it is in like learning how to fly the airplane.
I guess the same sort of mentality applies to someone just starting off with their license. Like just keep that consistency. It gets tough, it gets disheartening, and just keep going, because you will get there.
Yeah. No, that's like exactly it. It's like you have your pilot license. You're like, oh, how do I get to like 100 hours? And that's such a like insurmountable goal. And then you get to 100 hours, and you're like, what? I need 500 for my first job. And it's like, oh yeah, that's the next like insurmountable goal. And then you get your first job, and you're like, what? I need 500 multi-time to get my next. Like, how am I going to get that? Yeah,
It's
but
adding more stickers to the sticker book. That's what I always say.
true. It's true. Yeah. So.
Awesome. I'm not seeing any other questions, Mike. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with the Flight Club watchers and the Aerobatics channel as a general?
Well, I would just ask something I'm curious about. Like, what should we be watching on the Flight Club side? What kind of stuff have you guys got coming?
We've got a ton of things coming down the pipeline. We are actually going to be launching a website revamp either tonight or tomorrow night, just depending on testing. So that's one of the like website user functionality things that I'm excited about. We are working on an insurance solution that we're hoping will completely change the aviation rental market. So kind of like Airbnb or Turo, where you sign up, you get insurance, and then you just take it and you're good to go. We're working on an insurance solution where any pilot that signs up or any owner that signs up would have their airplane and their pilots covered. Now, obviously, it's pending a check ride and pending the owner approving the pilot, but we're super, super excited about that. And as soon as we have that in place, I think the world of aviation rental completely opens up to allow pilots to go flying whenever they want.
That is super cool to hear, because it's just been like, it's been like decades. Like I've heard the same story over and over again. Like over the years, it's like, oh, it could do this except for that, and seeing you guys like identify the problem, identify like accurately, quickly, and then just be like, all right, so here's what we're gonna do. I think that's gonna be super cool to see happen, and then see where that grows.
It's exactly like what you've said. It's just like slow steps, a little by little. I remember the first time when we got our first airplane listed that wasn't my airplane. I was like, oh my God, our first airplane. And now we're up to like 30, 35 airplanes, and we're flying consistently over 30 hours a week. Where originally we were struggling just to get like, okay, let's get 2 hours on the platform. Let's just get someone flying. What do we do? How do we get them there? And it's the baby steps. And I think the market and the pilots are really seeing that we're trying to improve like the life of pilots as a general or as a whole. And that hopefully comes out in my passion and the passion of the team anytime you have a call with one of us. But that's what we're here to do, just make aviation safer and easier.
Totally. And I think it's like all that jives, because it's like airplanes being flown more often, it's healthier for the engine, pilots flying more often. It's all going in a good direction. We have more current pilots flying, in some cases like diversified airplanes, so they just get experience, because like the fundamentals are the same. It's like Cessna, Airbus, Boeing, like it's all the same. One just has more computers than like the others. And then being able to build that community and like tie it back with the airport barbecues and all that kind of stuff, that's like, it's perfect.
That's our biggest our biggest thing, and our biggest disappointment actually with COVID is that we couldn't host any of those events. I think a part of Flight Club is just building that community of aviators where it's okay to go like fly in, share, eat some food. Where we're also trying to get a fly-in movie going. We have messaged Paramount to see if we can get Tom Cruise's Top Gun
Nice.
to where we go just project it on a hangar and have everyone fly in and come and watch it.
That's
So
awesome.
anything that we can do to build the community, if people have ideas, like send them our way. There's nothing off the table. We just want to build the community and have an awesome time flying and doing it. So.
That is super, super cool. Cool, man. That's like it's going to be just as it gets rolling. Like, I mean, I'm super pumped to watch it and like participate in it. That'll be an absolute riot.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thanks so much for your time. I know you imparted a lot of wealth on me and everyone that watched today. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks very much for the time here, having me on. It's been a fantastic time. I'm super pumped to hear like what Flight Club's doing, where things are going to go with that. And sorry, pardon me. And looking forward to keeping in touch and having some fun.
Awesome. Hopefully we'll get you a Flight Club bandana, and we can hopefully see that in some of your posts later on.
That'd be super cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks. Take care. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.